I know that I promised you a TBR game this month and I'm working on one, really. It just may take some time because this is a very, very big project and believe me, it will be worth the wait. But hopefully in May or in June, my TBR game will be already ready. But today I'm doing my spring TBR. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jane and I'm not the best at sticking to a TBR. I feel like monthly TBRs are really short, so today I decided to do a seasonal TBR because I feel like this is less pressure because I have more time to read the books that I'm going to talk about today. I have one main goal this season and this goal is to read as many books from my physical TBR because like you can see, I have a lot of books on my physical TBR. Now my last video was my 5-star predictions and I'm not going to repeat the same books here, although I really want to read those books also this season, at least most of them. But today I'm going to talk about other books that I also really excited about, and I think that I will start with the horror books because in the beginning of the month I read my first time horror books and I'm starting really to love this genre, so of course I really want to read more horror books this season. And the first book that I really want to read this spring is Watch Over Me by LaCour. So this story following Mila, a woman who got a job offer and she is moving to a new place, and this new place is in the middle of nowhere, and in her new home some really creepy things are starting to happen. Now I'm not sure if this is a ghost story because I think that if this isn't a ghost story, she's like imagining everything, so it's like about her mental health, but like it's one of them, or a ghost story or her mental health. It sounds really good, and it's also a really short book, and like I love short books because you can read them really fast and it's really good for your Goodreads goal. And also the cover is really cool because like you have a character on the cover, but then you're opening the book and like she's looking at you. It's so cool, and like I said, I just really want to read something horror and it sounds so good, so I'm really excited to read this. The next horror book is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Now this book is a horror Gothic book which I never read and it sounds really cool, and in this story the main character is getting a letter from her cousin and her cousin telling her that he needs to be rescued from a mysterious room or something like this. It sounds really bizarre, but it also sounds really cool, and I think that this is also an historical fiction. Yes, 1950 in Mexico. I don't think that I ever read a book that takes place in Mexico, so it's about time to read one, and I just heard really good things about this book. I think it was released in 2020, and yes, it just sounds so good, and like I said, I never read a horror Gothic story before, and I'm really trying to get more into the horror genre, so yes, it just sounds really amazing. And also the book is really gorgeous without the dust jacket. Like look, it's so pretty, and like the gold lettering with the purple cover just looks so good. And like I'm not one of those who prefer books without the dust jacket. I actually usually really love dust jackets, so this isn't typical for me to love a book without the dust jacket. But yes, this one is just so pretty and I'm really excited to read it. And the last horror book that I really want to read this spring is Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. Now, if you saw my first time reading horror vlog, you know that I already read a book from Rory Power, Wilder Girls, and I actually DNF'd it. It was like my first DNF since I got into reading after my huge reading slump. So you may asking yourself why I want to read another book from Rory Power if I already read a book from Rory Power and I didn't like it. And that's because this book like gives me other vibes than Wilder Girls, and like I really wasn't sure if I really want to read this book because I was really disappointed by Wilder Girls, but I looked more and like a lot of people saying that this book has really different vibe from Wilder Girls, and like if you loved Wilder Girls you won't necessarily will be loving this one, and the opposite. So although I DNF'd Wilder Girls, I do think that maybe I will be loving this book because right now from what I know about it and from the synopsis I just feel so much more drawn to this book, and I I really want to read it. I just feel that maybe it will be different. And basically this book following Margot. And Margot lived with her mother her whole life, but she really wants answers about her family because she doesn't know a lot of things about her family. So she goes to the place that her mother grew at. And I think that this is an haunted house story. And I actually hope that it will be like an haunted house story goes, because I read Horrid this month and it was my most favorite book of 2021 so far, and it was an haunted house story. So I really hope that this one also will be an haunted house story, but we will see. I'm just really excited to read it, and I really hope that I will be reading it this month or the month after this one. So those were all of the horror books, and now I'm going to talk about thriller, because I'm also starting to get more into thrillers, which is really cool. And this one is One of Us is Next by Karen M. McManus. This is the sequel to One of Us is Lying that I read not a long time ago, and I actually really enjoyed this book, so of course I picked up also the sequel. One of Us is Lying is about a group of 5 teenagers who went into a detention, but only 4 of them came out alive. So all those 4 teenagers were the suspects of the death. Now, I don't really know a lot about the sequel. I think it's following another group of teenagers, not the same teenagers from the first one. And yes, I just really enjoyed the first one, and I really want to dive into the sequel. And I really hope that this one will be good or even better than the first one. Now, the next book that I really need to read ASAP is actually a series that I started to read in December, and I read the first 3 books in December, but since then I didn't get to the 4th one, and this series is the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. Now, Winter, this really big book, is the 4th book in the series, and I want to read it like since January. I already talked about it in my January TBR, and like since then I didn't read it. Now, the reason that I didn't read it is because this is like a really huge book. It has more than 800 pages, which is a lot. And I feel like I started to get afraid from big books since I opened my booktube, because I feel like I need to read a lot of books. So I will have a lot of books to talk about and a lot of books to make content about. So I just was really afraid to commit to such a big book. But this month is going to change. I'm not going to be afraid anymore from big books, because usually big books are really fun to read because you have a lot of plot in them. And my biggest priority for this spring is to actually finish the series and to read like also the 4th and the last book, and also the sequels after the last book. And also, like, I read the first 3 books in December, and I think that if I'm going to put this series away and not read it, the time that I will actually forget what happened in the first 3 books will come. So I just want to read those before I will forget everything. And also, I really want to continue the series. It was like a really good series. I gave the 1st and the 4th book 5 stars. I really enjoyed them, and I really hate Scarlet, the 2nd book, but we are not talking about it. But yes, those books are highly on my TBR, and I definitely need to finish the Lunar Chronicles series this spring. The next book is a book that I haul, I think, in my big book haul in January, and I actually didn't think that I will be reading this one soon, but in the last couple of weeks, I'm feeling like this book calling me, and like I keep looking at it all the time. And this book is Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. Now, this book is about a world where girls have to go to an annual ball, and in this ball, men can choose them to be their wives based on their beauty, and like the girls can do nothing about it. If a man chose some girl, she just have to marry him no matter what. And the main character of the story is in love with her best friend, her girlfriend. And yes, this is a sapphic book. Now, it just sounds really cool, and this is like obviously a retelling about Cinderella. And yes, this book just keeps calling to me, and I feel like based on my mood, I will be reading it really soon. So yes, hopefully I will get to this one really soon. And the last book is a book that I actually don't have a physical copy with me yet, because my copy didn't came in the mail yet. Now, I know that I say that my biggest priority this spring is to read books for my physical TBR, and like the point is to read more books for my physical TBR and not buy more books. But I actually bought this book like already 2 weeks ago. Just takes a lot of time to books to get here. So basically this book is from my physical TBR, just not yet. And this book is The Gilded Ones by Namina. Now, this is a new release that released this year, and this is the first book in a series, I think. Now, in this book, girls who are 16 needs to go go through a blood ceremony, and if they bleed red blood, regular blood, they're going to be a part of the village, but if they bleed gold blood, they're actually going to be taken away. Now, the main character of the story is of course bleeding gold blood, which is like really bad, and she can't be a part of her village anymore. And yes, this is what I know about the story. I don't know what is going to happen next, but I really want to find out. And I actually look every day to see where this book is, because I really finally want to get it. Like honestly, I look all the time, and just every day I hope that this day will be the day that the book finally will arrive. And I think that the second that I'm going to finally get it, I will read it like really fast, because I'm so excited to read it. And yes, hopefully I will get it really soon. So this is my spring TBR, and I really hope to actually read those books and like to actually stick to my TBR. I'm just really excited about all of them, and of course also for my 5-star prediction books. So like hopefully I will read them and also my 5-star prediction books. And yes, I'm really excited. I am uploading 2 times a week on Sundays and Wednesdays, and my next video will be finally another episode of my binge reading series, and I'm really excited about this episode. But until then, you can check more videos by me. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone!